Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 51, It is said Alola has a tiger god. Dear Father, I miss you very much. How have you been? Have you seen the achievements of your handsome son recently? To further develop the gym you entrusted to me, I need your support again. It is said that the Alola region has an Incineroar. I am very interested in it. Please ask Professor Kukui if his Incineroar has any offspring, and it would be best if they are twins, and make sure they have the Intimidate ability. Dylan's typing speed was very fast, and soon he had edited and sent a long message. Although the old man was somewhat unreliable, he was still very dependable. If there's time, I must visit Galar. After sending the message, Dylan fell into deep thought. His poison-type team was basically formed, and it wasn't easy to make further improvements. It was said that Grandma Agatha's Arbok had a secret technique called death makeup. The principle was to enhance Arbok's abilities, such as speed, strength, and defense, by changing the patterns on its chest. This was equivalent to the critical hit technique, but death makeup was Agatha's unique skill and was controllable, making it a very good ability. If there's a chance, visiting Grandma Agatha to learn from her would be worthwhile. Then there's the simplest method, capturing legendary poison-type Pokemon. The poison dragon needs careful planning. That's Rose's dream. If he wants to take Eternatus, Rose might have to go all out. Dylan pondered. Speaking of powerful poison-type Pokemon, one couldn't avoid Eternatus from the Galar region, known as the Calamity from the Sky. It was the source of Dynamax and was seen by Galar League Chairman Rose as Galar's future. Eternatus was undoubtedly very powerful, especially in its Eternamax form. In the game, its Eternamax form had a base stat total exceeding 1000. Absolutely absurd. In reality, stats weren't everything, but as a reference, Eternatus was still a terrifying legendary Pokemon. Currently, Eternatus should be kept in an underground energy plant in Hammerlock City by Rose after being discovered. Without sufficient strength, it's best not to think about Eternatus. Capturing it means facing Rose, the Galar League chairman, which is no joke. Other poison-type legendaries include Nihilego, which only exists in Ultra Deep Sea, a dangerous place due to the presence of many Ultra Beasts. That leaves the few in Galar. The mythical Pokemon Pekarunt and its 3 followers. When there's a chance, I must visit Galar. Dylan's eyes sparkled. After improving his strength a bit more, he planned to take a leave from the league to visit Galar. Time quickly passed, and it was the next day at Rhoda Gym. I should be able to challenge the Indigo Elite Four in a few days. Dylan woke up from his dream, rubbing his head. In the simulated world, he had defeated Blaine of Cinnabar Island and captured the in-game Zapdos and Articuno, leaving only Moltres on Victory Road. Once he defeats Giovanni at Viridian Gym tomorrow night, he can challenge the Indigo Elite Four. Wait, does this mean I can only bring one of the legendary birds? Dylan, about to get up and wash, suddenly realized. The first round of the Indigo Elite Four wasn't that hard. After clearing Viridian Gym and Victory Road, defeating the Elite Four should be no problem. Even if he couldn't level grind, he had potions. But the problem was, Mutwo could only be captured in the second round because Cerulean Cave was only accessible to Kanto champions. The system mentioned that after defeating the Elite Four and entering the Hall of Fame, he could choose one Pokemon from his recorded champion team to bring out of the simulated world. So, he couldn't bring out Mutwo? Host can save the Kanto record and bring the captured Pokemon to the next region. Dylan asked the system, and it clarified that this function was only available during the first challenge of the Elite Four and champion in each region. So, it had to be the next region? Dylan felt a bit regretful, thinking he could soon have a Mutwo. But it was just a small regret. After all, this system was extremely powerful and free. One must learn to be content. Which of the legendary birds should I choose? Dylan got up and went to the bathroom, thinking about which bird to choose. Moltres was 4 times weak to rock, so he immediately dismissed it. Articuno was also 4 times weak to rock, but it was ice type. Zapdos seemed pretty good. He'd decide later. After washing up, Dylan went to the backyard to feed his Pokémon breakfast. A good meal led to a healthy body, and a healthy body meant strength. No issues there. Meow. A deep, magnetic voice suddenly came from beside Dylan, and a black-green charming figure appeared next to him. Its humanoid body was mostly covered in light green fur, with dark green legs. Its face seemed to wear a dark green mask, and its pink gemstone-like eyes were sly and alluring. It had a pink, petal-like collar connected to a cloak with black fur on the outside and green on the inside. It also had a fluffy short tail. Exuding coldness and charm, this was the Meowscarada evolved from Floragato. Beep Meowscarada, Grass/Dark type, Magician Pokémon. Ability, Overgrow. Moves: Flower Trick, Play Rough, Energy Ball, Night Slash, Faint Attack, Seed Bomb, Frenzy Plant. Description: the flowers seem to float in the air, but they are hidden by the reflective fur inside the cloak. I didn't forget about you. What were you doing just now? Dylan handed the prepared food to Meowscarada. Meow. Bullying Slowpoke again? It's already slow, and you still mess with it. Didn't I just tell you last night? Dylan twitched his mouth. Floragato was lively and active, but after evolving into Meowscarada, it became a bit more mischievous. Meow. Meowscarada slightly raised its chin, indicating it didn't do such a thing. Then why was Slowpoke in a tree instead of by the water? And why was Beedrill's nest nearby? Dylan chuckled. Recently, he relocated some wild Pokémon to the manor, including Beedrill. Usually, Beedrill lived in the nearby woods, while Slowpoke spent its days with its tail in the pond, sitting motionless. But last night, Dylan found Slowpoke missing. It couldn't have caught a Shelder with its tail, there were no Shelder in the pond. After searching, Dylan found Slowpoke in a tree, with some stings from curious Beedrill, whose nest was nearby. Could Slowpoke climb trees? Well, as a psychic type, it might use its powers to float up. But Dylan was sure this particularly slow Slowpoke couldn't do that. Besides Meowscarada, Dylan couldn't think of anyone else who would move Slowpoke's home. Not that the pond was necessarily Slowpoke's home. Meow. Meowscarada's gem-like eyes narrowed, and it whistled, walking away nonchalantly. According to its experience, Dylan would continue to nag. No more pranks, got it? Meow. Meowscarada's eyes curved into crescents, and it quickly ran back to Dylan, affectionately rubbing its head against his chest, looking very cute. Dylan, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, rubbed Meowscarada's ears. Gym Leader. A crisp voice called from behind. Dylan turned to see the receptionist and Celine. Gym Leader. Celine bowed solemnly. I've told you not to be so formal. Dylan motioned them over. Have you had breakfast? Yes, we did. The receptionist smiled energetically, while Celine seemed a bit nervous. After all, it was her first day as a formal trainee at Rhoda Gym. But Celine couldn't help but glance around, feeling the courtyard was too big. And there were so many Pokémon. Celine was amazed. It was breakfast time, and many Pokémon were gathered together. Alright, you two are still growing, so eat more. Dylan nodded. Now, to business. Celine, although you're not yet an adult, as a gym trainee, you should have your own Pokémon. Dylan spoke to Celine. Most people wait until adulthood to receive their starter Pokémon and begin their journey. But many receive Pokémon before adulthood, either gifted by family or encountered in the wild. Since Celine was a Rhoda Gym trainee, though not old enough for a starter, Dylan could still give her a Pokémon partner as her teacher. Celine's clear eyes lit up. Could it be? Little one, come here. Dylan called to one of the 2 black and red kittens nearby. The kitten tilted its head but obediently walked over, and the other followed. These are Litten from Alola. This one is the elder sister, which I plan to raise. Dylan bent down to scratch the second Litten's chin, and it squinted comfortably. Seeing this, Neoscarata found its food less appealing. This little one is the younger sister. Very cute, right? It's more docile and perfect as your first Pokemon. Dylan picked up the younger Litten, and it snuggled in his arms. Celine watched, eyes shining with joy and excitement. Gym leader. Pokemon. Celine hesitated, looking at Litten's pure eyes, overwhelmed with joy. It had always been her dream to become a Pokemon trainer. Will you cherish and love it? Of course. Chapter 52, Dylan joins the group chat. Celine's fair face was full of joy, her eyes shining as she stared at Litten. A Pokemon. A Pokemon really prepared just for her. Celine loved Pokemon and dreamed of capturing her own, but because she wasn't old enough, she had to suppress her excitement. She joined Rota Gym as an apprentice to get early exposure to Pokemon and learn about Pokemon battles. But she never expected that on her first day at the gym, the handsome gym leader would give her such a big surprise. She was so happy, so very happy. What do you think, Litten? Dylan couldn't help but smile at the excited girl, then looked down at the little Litten. Meow. Litten licked its lips, slightly averting its gaze with a soft sound. Unlike Sprigatito's clear and cute cry, Litten's was somewhat low. It says it doesn't dislike you, Celine. I hope you take good care of it. Pokemon are the most important partners and companions for trainers, not just pets. Dylan placed Litten on the ground, his smile fading slightly as he spoke to Celine with a serious tone. If a trainer cannot treat their Pokemon well, they will suffer consequences. The relationship between a trainer and their Pokemon is always mutual, not one-sided. Yes. I understand. Celine immediately stood up straight, seriously promising. She understood this well and believed she would take good care of Litten. After all, it was her first Pokemon. Here is Litten's Pokeball. From now on, this little one is entrusted to you. Dylan nodded in satisfaction, handing Litten's Pokeball to Celine. Thank you, gym leader. Celine excitedly took the Pokeball, her fair face brimming with joy, and then bowed to Dylan in gratitude. She finally had her first Pokemon. Go ahead. Dylan chuckled. Celine pursed her lips, then walked over to Litten, squatting down nervously in front of it. Hello, Litten. From now on, I am your trainer. Meow. Let's work hard together and become strong. Please trust me. Seeing Celine's serious and earnest expression, Litten hesitated for a moment, then stepped closer to Celine. This meant it accepted Celine as its trainer. Suppressing her excitement and nervousness, Celine raised the Pokeball in her hand and aimed it at Litten. A red light touched Litten, and it was absorbed into the Pokeball without any resistance. If Litten disliked Celine, it could have avoided being captured by the Pokeball. I'm a trainer now. Standing up and looking at Litten's Pokeball in her hand, Celine was momentarily lost in thought. Hooray! Celine successfully captured a Pokemon. The receptionist cheered on the side, feeling happy for her sister. Although Litten accepted you, Celine, you still need to spend more time with it to build your bond. Dylan smiled as he spoke. Yes. Celine's smile was almost uncontrollable. Now, you two go on. I'll give you a lesson this afternoon. Dylan nodded and indicated that the two girls could go back inside the gym. Of course, Dylan was very mindful of his responsibilities as a teacher. After all, Celine was his first gym apprentice, so he needed to pay extra attention. Got it. The two girls responded obediently. Celine quickly released Litten again, and the two girls, along with the Pokemon, headed towards the gym. Feels like handing out Pokemon like a professor, Dylan said, gently scratching Litten's belly in his arms, feeling a bit nostalgic. The scene of giving Litten to Celine had a certain charm, though it lacked the part where a professor would let the newcomer choose one out of 3 Pokemon. However, feeling something strange, Dylan turned around and saw the Neoscarata staring at him with a faint aura. Meow. The Neoscarata's jewel-like eyes were full of resentment as it stared at Dylan. Dylan. Then the Mioscarada's gaze fell on Litten in Dylan's arms, and its eyes instantly became sharp. This coquettish little Litten. Meow. Litten, feeling the senior Mioscarada's sharp eyes, tilted its head in confusion. It seemed that this senior Mioscarada had a big problem with it. But Litten was strong and brave. Although it should ideally cower to avoid being marked by the senior Mioscarada, the Litten family had no cowards. Summoning its courage, Litten glared back at the Mioscarada, even rubbing against Dylan's chest. Meow. The Mioscarada squinted its eyes, revealing a charming smile, with a faint green light flashing on its body. This little one just weaned? Daring to challenge me? He. Meowha, you're all grown up and still jealous of the little one? Dylan laughed, seeing the big and small Meow's locking eyes. Meow. Hearing Dylan's words, the Mioscarada instantly relaxed, stretching lazily, its magnetic voice sounding quite content. Don't bully your companions. Litten is still young, and you're the senior. Take care of it. Dylan's phone rang. It was from the Pokemon Inspection Bureau. Dylan placed Litten on the ground, instructed the Mioscarada, and turned away to answer the call. Meow, seeing Dylan walk away a bit, the Mioscarada showed a friendly expression to the now fully bristled Litten. Of course, it would listen to Dylan, but as a senior, guiding the new Meow was reasonable, right? Meanwhile, Dylan answered the call. Dylan, this is the Deputy Director of the Pokemon Inspection Bureau. Your application has been approved. Thank you very much. This serious and clear voice could only be from an Officer Jenny. Dylan wasn't surprised. The Jenny and Joy families were the backbone of the Pokemon League, present in every department. After a brief chat with this Officer Jenny, Dylan received a friend request on his social account. Then he was added to a group chat named Kanto Gym Leaders Group Chat. Rhoda Gym Dylan joined the group chat. Pewter Gym Flint, wow, a newcomer. Is Rhoda Gym and Rhoda? We're pretty close. Let's have a meal together sometime. Cerulean Gym Daisy, a new member. Oh, it's Rhoda Gym. Surprise.jpg. Officer Jenny, Gym Leader Daisy, Gym Leader Dylan of Rhoda Gym just graduated from the Pokemon School recently. Despite the previous poor reviews, he has worked hard and received many positive reviews from challengers. He also shone during the recent Team Rocket SSN incident. This is something Cerulean Gym should learn from. Officer Jenny, also, I received reports that Cerulean Gym gave out 2 badges yesterday. Is that true? Officer Jenny, as an official Kanto Gym. Gym Leader Daisy, stop such disgraceful behavior. Angry.jpg. Cerulean Gym Daisy, Jenny, please don't scold me. I know it was wrong. But the challengers hit us so hard the day before, and my Pokemon and I are still in the hospital. Tearful.jpg. Celadon Gym Erica, actually, Ms. Jenny, I think Daisy has been trying her best. Officer Jenny, Erica, I almost forgot about you. The day before, you were also reported for making challengers wait for half an hour while you took a nap. Is that true? Celadon Gym Erica, sweating, I might have, possibly, maybe. Officer Jenny, as an official gym leader of the league, how could you be so disrespectful? This is too much. This year, Celadon Gym's bonus is halved. Celadon Gym Erica, no.jpg. Cinnabar Gym Blaine, Jenny is still so fiery it'll be hard for you to get married with that temper. Officer Jenny, Blaine, I haven't talked about you yet. How many people think Cinnabar Gym has closed down? Please take it seriously. If you don't accept a few challengers soon, Cinnabar Gym's bonus is also forfeited this year. Cinnabar Gym Blaine, M. Officer Jenny, and the Vermilion Gym. At Vermilion Gym, Lieutenant Surge, Mr. Surge, there have been so many complaints about Vermilion Gym recently. Can you explain why? Vermilion Gym, Lieutenant Surge, haha, those kids are too weak. Officer Jenny, and Fuchsia Gym. At Fuchsia Gym Ikoga, Mr. Koga, I always thought you were a reliable person. Now, according to reports, challengers say their personal safety cannot be guaranteed in your gym. What does that mean? Fuchsia Gym, Koga. Officer Jenny, finally, you. At Saffron Gym is Sabrina, Miss Sabrina. I personally verified your skills and I'm satisfied. Gyms are meant to challenge trainers, but please take it easy. Challengers walk in fine and come out broken. How can you do this? Saffron Gym is being called haunted. Saffron Gym, Sabrina, confused.jpg. Officer Jenny, stop giving me that cute face. They're calling you a monster. Frustrated.jpg. Good, very good. Seeing Officer Jenny's stern handling of the situation, Dylan couldn't help but smile, realizing he was now part of this eccentric yet dedicated group of gym leaders. Chapter 53, Truly Shameless. Even though Officer Jenny seemed very fierce in the group chat, the gym leaders weren't upset. After all, Officer Jenny was merely pointing out their recent flaws. Ultimately, the purpose of the league's gyms is to challenge and hone the skills of trainers. It wasn't long before Officer Jenny seemed to get busy, and the tirade in the group chat ceased. Rota Gym Dylan, a ham newbie reporting in. Please take care of me, seniors. CutePete.gif. Unfortunately, Dylan had just entered the chat right when Officer Jenny was in full swing, leaving him no chance to greet the other gym leaders. Cerulean Gym Daisy, phew, Officer Jenny is so scary when she's angry. I didn't dare to say anything. Welcome, newbie, patting cutehead.gif. Daisy, the second eldest of the Cerulean sisters and Misty's older sister. Viridian Gym Giovanni, hee Officer Jenny only does this for everyone's benefit, otherwise, she wouldn't have created this group chat. Cerulean Gym Lily, Giovanni is right. But we three sisters really don't have any talent as trainers, tearyeyes.gif. It would be wonderful if we were as skilled as you, Giovanni. Cerulean Gym Violet, who knows when Misty will return? I'm worried, and it's ruining my skin. Viridian Gym Giovanni, Officer Jenny is willing to give you an extension. During this time, just do your best with what you can manage. Viridian Gym Giovanni, speaking of which, I heard that gym leader Dylan recently rescued the SSN from a Team Rocket hijacking and even defeated Executive Archer. Quite impressive. For someone so young. Noticing the conversation shifting to him, Dylan's eyes gleamed subtly. Cerulean Gym Lily, wow, that's amazing. So what Officer Jenny said was true. Admiration.gif. Celadone Gym Erica, I heard the same. To thwart Team Rocket's plans, Mr. Dylan must be very strong. Vermilion Gym Lieutenant Surge, haha, today's youth are truly remarkable. Even beating Archer, let's spar when you have time. Grinning.gif. Rota Gym Dylan, you flatter me. I wasn't the only one facing Archer on the SS, and I had a friend who prefers to stay out of the spotlight. Rota Gym Dylan, I'm sure if it were Giovanni or Lieutenant Surge, Archer wouldn't have stood a chance. Shy.gif. Vermilion Gym Lieutenant Surge, hahaha, of course. I'm Lieutenant Surge, after all. Just Archer? No problem. Viridian Gym Giovanni, hee no need to be so modest, Mr. Dylan. You're already an outstanding young gym leader. The evil Team Rocket should be eradicated. If I ever encounter Archer, as a league gym leader, I certainly wouldn't let him escape. Pewter Gym Brock, as expected of Giovanni, such determination. Celadone Gym Erica, I will fight Team Rocket to the end. Charging in.gif. Cerulean Gym Lily, everyone is so awesome. We'll be here cheering for all of you. Rota Gym Dylan, you all rock. Viridian Gym. A middle-aged man in a luxurious black suit sat in a chair, scrolling through the group chat on his phone. His thin, shadowed face and neatly cropped hair made it clear that he was none other than Giovanni, the Viridian Gym leader. He was also the boss of Team Rocket. Dylan, hee. After a long moment, a meaningful smile curled Giovanni's lips as he gently played with a pokeball in his left hand. Boss, I deeply apologize. In front of Giovanni stood Archer, bowing in shame. It's fine. If Dr. Fuji is unwilling to return, there's no need to force him. When Mutuo awakens, he will understand. Giovanni spoke calmly. Dr. Fuji was a talented and outstanding researcher, a real pity he was lost to them. The mythical Pokemon, Darkrai, is a fine trophy. Giovanni then glanced at the Pokeball in his hand. Inside was the only prize Team Rocket managed to secure from the SS in Darkrai. I think only you, boss, could properly wield Darkrai. Legendaries certainly have potential, but it has an even greater use. Giovanni's deep eyes flickered slightly. Archer, take it to the base and have the team attempt to fuse Darkrai's genetic material into Mutuo. Darkrai, being a mythical Pokemon, undoubtedly possessed exceptionally powerful genes. If Mutuo could absorb Darkrai's genetic material, it would undoubtedly become even stronger. Boss? Wouldn't that be? Archer hesitated, worried that this might cause Mutuo to have an adverse reaction. After all, Dr. Fuji was no longer with them. Mutuo is now stable. If we add other Pokemon's genetic material, the outcome is uncertain. I trust Mutuo, Giovanni replied calmly. It is the cornerstone of Team Rocket's ideals and our greatest creation. Giovanni slowly stood up and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the cityscape of Viridian City. His voice was low and magnetic. The Pokemon League could never understand. We've created a true miracle. A human-made creature capable of rivaling gods. A hint of irony touched Giovanni's lips. Why did the Pokemon League so vehemently oppose Team Rocket? It wasn't just because they stole Pokemon like any ordinary criminal organization. It was because of the inhumane and cruel genetic experiments they conducted. These barbaric and heartless acts were the true reason the Kanto League relentlessly pursued Team Rocket, with Champion Lance and Elite Four Lorelei leading the charge. To Giovanni, these two were like rabid dogs, obsessively hating and condemning Team Rocket. Giovanni never denied his ambition. His goal in leading Team Rocket had never wavered. However, he scoffed at the League's reasoning for opposing them. Yes, experimenting on Pokemon is cruel, but look at what we've accomplished now. Mutuo is on the verge of awakening. It is Team Rocket's crowning achievement. A new legendary Pokemon created using cloned genetic technology. A man-made legend. This proves that Team Rocket was right. Scientific progress and technological breakthroughs require sacrifice, don't they? Indeed, too many innocent Pokemon have been sacrificed. But to Giovanni, it was all worth it. Because Mutuo was born. Mutuo is perfect. It is the perfect Pokemon. Giovanni's calm voice carried a trace of emotion. He believed in Mutuo. It would adapt to Darkrai's genetic material and become even more perfect. Yes, I understand. Archer now fully grasped Giovanni's resolve and respectfully acknowledged it. Though he had reservations, fearing the high risk of failure and potential harm to Mutuo, the boss's will was paramount. Giovanni had made his decision, and Archer's duty was to follow. He would always be loyal to Giovanni. Go, Giovanni said without even glancing at the Darkrai Pokeball on the table. Darkrai? Just a minor inconvenience. Giovanni had long since reached the level of an elite champion. A legendary Pokemon like Darkrai was utterly insignificant to him. Darkrai's power was something Giovanni's main Pokemon could easily crush. Understood. Archer took the Darkrai Pokeball and left Giovanni's office. The room fell silent once more. Giovanni returned his attention to his phone. He had met Red before, a child with great potential whom Giovanni admired. As for this Dylan, he might be worth watching. Viridian Gym. Giovanni, if anyone encounters a high-ranking Team Rocket member, please don't act rashly. Team Rocket is extremely dangerous. You can contact me, and I'll come immediately to help. Rhoda Gym. Dylan, as expected of Giovanni. We're counting on you. Awesome. GIF. Cerulean Gym. Daisy. Giovanni is so cool. Viridian Gym. Giovanni, hee it's my duty as a gym leader and a member of the league. Humble. GIF. Rhoda Gym. Giovanni. Dylan couldn't help but laugh. As expected of Giovanni. No wonder no one had ever suspected Giovanni's true identity. Perhaps he even had high-ranking officials in the Pokemon League on his payroll. Meanwhile, outside Rhoda. Rhoda! I'm back, everyone! A handsome young man, Gary, gazed confidently at the road ahead. After half a month of intense training, he finally felt ready to defeat that man. Today, he would avenge his previous loss and prove the strength of the Oak family name. Gary is so cool. Today, Gary will definitely succeed. Of course. Gary has been through special training. Gary's cheerleaders couldn't help but cheer. My dear fans, let's go inside. Gary casually flicked his hair and strode confidently into Rhoda. When did this notice board appear? Gary soon stopped in front of a sign, reading the message on it. His face twitched slightly. Rhoda notice, Rhoda Street Pokemon Gym welcomes all challengers. Gym leader, Dylan. A man as warm as the sun. Shameless. Gary cursed inwardly. What kind of person who uses poison types would describe themselves as warm as the sun? Bah! Truly shameless. No matter what, I'm getting that gym badge this time. Gary snorted, bypassing the notice board, and marched towards the Rhoda gym. He had captured a guaranteed victory Pokemon just for this occasion. There was no way he would lose this time. This time, Gary was sure of it. Chapter 54, You Are the Future Glory of Kanto. Deeplitten, Fire-type, Fire Cat Pokemon. Ability, Intimidate. Moves, Lick, Ember, Growl, Scratch, Fake Out, Egg Move. Description. By grooming itself, it burns the loose fur gathered in its stomach and spits out flames. The flames' characteristics vary depending on how the fur is ejected. Without leaving a parting shot, this is incomplete. Dylan nodded as he reviewed the move set of his Litten. Fake Out was a good move, but it still lacked a strong parting shot. It wasn't a big deal. He could let Litten learn it from other Pokemon that knew the move, or even if it couldn't, he had Mimic Herb. Speaking of which, do I have too many dark types now? Dylan pondered, thinking of his Meowscarada, Drapion, and the future Incineroar. Without realizing it, he already had 3 dark-type Pokemon. This was clearly a coincidence, combining both dark and poison types. Initially, Dylan planned to slowly build a ghost-type team so that he could occasionally let the cute challengers experience the joy that ghost types could bring. A stall team might also be good. The windows of the gym shouldn't get smashed, right? Dylan seriously considered this possibility. Challengers shouldn't go that far, right? Gym leader. A lively shout from his receptionist came through. What's up? Dylan stood up, stretched, and checked the time. After setting up a special training plan for Meowscarada and the others, it was already almost noon. A reporter just came by, saying they want to interview you. Oh? Dylan raised an eyebrow. Reporters don't just show up out of nowhere for interviews. This reporter probably received some news and rushed over as soon as possible. Let's go take a look. Dylan didn't think too much about it. Having a reporter interview him was a good thing. Speaking of which, the games also have interviewer-type trainers consisting of a reporter and a cameraman, but they weren't in the first generation. However, this is the real world of Kanto, how could there not be reporters? Upon entering the gym, Dylan immediately noticed a striking woman with black hair and a man holding a camera. Hello, I'm Dylan. Dylan approached the pair with a warm smile. Hello, gym leader Dylan. I'm Abi, and this is our cameraman, Abu. We're from the Vermilion City TV station. Abi showed Dylan her credentials. Dylan glanced at them and nodded. They were indeed reporters. So, what can I do for you too? It's like this, we've heard about the SSN incident from yesterday. According to the police report, you were one of the key individuals involved. Could we interview you about the incident? Of course. Dylan didn't refuse. Thank you very much. Shall we get started after a bit of setup? Abi was pleased. This was big news. Team Rocket had hijacked the world-famous SS endangering an entire ship full of passengers. In the end, numerous trainers banded together to defeat Team Rocket. Upon learning that Dylan had returned to Rota, Abi rushed over immediately. After some preparation, the interview began. Dylan first briefly described the events of the incident and how Officer Jenny arrived with reinforcements. Lastly, I want to ask, Gym Leader Dylan, what were you thinking when you went after Archer? Archer is a high-ranking officer of Team Rocket. What if you weren't strong enough to defeat him? As she recorded, Abi voiced her concerns. Team Rocket was notorious for their cruelty, and based on Dylan's account, Archer was one of their top officials, even threatening the passengers with a cargo hold full of Voltorb and Electrode. Such a dangerous person. I didn't have any particular thoughts. As a trainer, especially elite gym leader, I felt it was my duty and responsibility to ensure the safety of those innocent passengers. Dylan shook his head, his expression serious. Abi was stunned by his words, while the two teenage girls at the front desk looked at their gym leader with stars in their eyes, filled with admiration. Even if I wasn't strong enough, even if I might get hurt, those weren't things I could afford to worry about. Perhaps it was a bit impulsive, but that was honestly how I felt at the time. Dylan smiled wryly. However, Archer's strength was indeed formidable. If it weren't for the fact that I had two like-minded companions fighting alongside me, we might not have been able to defeat him. For that, I must apologize. If I were stronger, I might have been able to capture Archer and Proton, those two criminals. My priority was the safety of the passengers. Dylan spoke with some regret. No, Gym Leader Dylan, you did an incredible job. Abi quickly interjected. If it weren't for you and your companions defeating Archer, the other passengers might not have been able to hold on until Officer Jenny arrived. You're a hero. Abi praised him sincerely, genuinely moved by Dylan's resolve. That was Team Rocket. The infamous, evil Team Rocket. This young gym leader, only 18 years old, already had such a selfless sense of duty. What an amazing person. No wonder the sign outside Rota described Dylan as a man as warm as the sun. It made perfect sense. I believe, Gym Leader Dylan, that you will one day become a beacon of hope for the Kanto region. Abi expressed her heartfelt admiration. Not only was Dylan young and strong, but his sense of justice and kindness made him a perfect candidate for the Kanto Pokemon League's future development. With such an outstanding and righteous young man, how could the Kanto League not nurture him? Ms. Abi, you're too kind. Future glory. I don't deserve such praise. Dylan smiled modestly, signaling for Abi to stop. This accomplishment wasn't just mine. It wouldn't have been possible without the help of my two anonymous friends and the bravery of the passengers. They too fought against Team Rocket. If it were just me alone, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Dylan's tone was earnest. That's true, but your contribution can't be overlooked either, Abi replied with a smile. Not only was he filled with a sense of justice, but he was also humble and unassuming. Abi was certain that Dylan's future would be extraordinary. After discussing a few more routine questions, the interview concluded. Thank you very much for agreeing to the interview, Gym Leader Dylan. Abi extended her hand to thank him. You're welcome. Actually, you're also helping to promote my Rota gym. Dylan responded humorously. He wasn't lying. Once the TV station aired this interview, it would undoubtedly bring attention to Rota Gym. This would attract more challengers, which was definitely beneficial for the gym. Don't worry, I'll be sure to give your gym a good mention. Abi chuckled and playfully winked at Dylan. Before coming, she and Abu had researched Dylan's background. This gym didn't have the best reputation before. But recently, the reviews had been gradually improving, indicating that Dylan was working hard. Although some of those reviews seemed a bit odd, Abi didn't quite understand. If you and Mr. Abu aren't in a hurry, feel free to explore Rota. Thank you, Gym Leader Dylan. Abi and Abu prepared to take their leave. However, just then, the gym doors were pushed open. Dylan! The young master is back. A confident young man strode in, flicking his hair with a strong presence. Was this a challenger? What a character! Abby pressed her lips together, unsure how to describe her thoughts. Ah, it's Gary. Are you confident you can beat me this time? Dylan looked at the determined Gary, slightly surprised. Of course. I've been training hard for half a month. Gary glanced at the interviewers, losing interest quickly. Reporters? Who cares? Dylan, I was careless last time, but this time I'm definitely going to beat you and get that badge. Gary was brimming with confidence, and it showed. Gary, you're the best. A group of cheerleaders immediately sprang up, cheering energetically behind Gary. Abby and Abu exchanged glances, both with question marks in their eyes. Even Celine, who was witnessing this spectacle for the first time, widened her eyes. Was this what gym challengers were like? I see. Then I accept your challenge. Dylan's warm and sunny demeanor remained unchanged as he faced the challenger. He never refused a trainer who dared to challenge him. This was his responsibility as a gym leader. What do you think? Abu asked Abby in a low voice. Of course, we're staying to watch the battle. Abby replied with interest. Abu nodded in agreement. Gym battles were always worth watching. I wonder what lineup gym leader Dylan will use. Online sources say he uses water types? Abby asked curiously as they took their seats in the audience. I think it might be fire types, considering the sign outside. Abu had a different opinion. The receptionist, who had also taken a seat in the audience, listened to their conversation with a slightly awkward but polite smile. Speaking of that sign, it was written by Irene. You could say it was pretty stereotypical. Chapter 55, Can't Your Gym Have a Proper Battle? Inside Rota Gym, Dylan and Gary stood at opposite ends of the battlefield. We're now beginning the gym battle for the Rota badge. The challenger is Gary from Pallet Town. The battle will be a 2v2. Dylan, the gym leader, will send out his Pokemon first and is not allowed to switch. If both of the challenger's Pokemon are defeated, the challenge is lost. Begin! The referee announced the rules and then exited the battlefield. A large screen displayed the half-body images of Dylan and Gary, signifying the start of the battle. Dylan leisurely adjusted his clothes, a slight smile playing on his lips as he looked at Gary. Gary, this is your second time challenging me, so I don't think introductions are necessary. Dylan pulled out a shrunken Pokeball, casually playing with it as he gazed at Gary with deep meaning. Make sure to show the results of your 2 weeks of special training. Otherwise, Gary, you might still leave without my badge. Don't worry, I found a way to counter your poison. No way am I letting a bit of poison mess with me again. Gary placed one hand on his hip, chin held high, clearly confident in the secret weapon he had prepared. Oh? Dylan raised an eyebrow. Although Gary had been arrogant and dismissive when he first started out, this time he was just as confident even after suffering a loss. It seemed he had indeed come prepared. Interesting. Let's see what you've got. Dylan chuckled softly and tossed out his first Pokeball. Gloom, get ready for battle. In a flash of white light, a gloom with a reddish-brown flower on its head appeared in front of Dylan, standing still and motionless. Its plant-like body was blue, with a pair of arms, legs, and eyes that were perpetually closed. Its lips were purple, and a mysterious white liquid dripped from the corners of its mouth. Bloom's appearance was strange and abstract. Compared to 2 weeks ago, Dylan's primary team was a bit too strong for Gary. Using something like Arbok or Drapion would have been overkill. Bloom was part of Dylan's secondary team, intentionally not evolved, making it perfect for facing challengers like Gary. Beep Gloom, Grass/Poison type, Wheat Pokemon. Ability, Stench. Moves, Moonblast, Toxic, Giga Drain, Sleep Powder, Stun Spore, Poison Powder, Sweet Scent, Venoshock, Teeter Dance, Inherited. The liquid that seeps from its mouth is not saliva but a nectar-like substance used to attract prey. As she looked at the moves listed in her Pokédex, Abby tilted her head in confusion. Look, it's a grass type. Abby had an expression that said she wasn't surprised. The sunlit, warm man must use cheerful Pokémon too. A grass type wasn't unexpected. I still think Dylan must have trained a few fire types, Abu insisted, confident in his theory. Meanwhile, on the battlefield. Gloom, huh? Gary hesitated. Over the past 2 weeks, he had specifically caught several Pokémon to counter poison types. Magnemite was one of them, but it didn't seem ideal for battling Gloom. After all, electric-type moves wouldn't be very effective against Gloom, and the only steel-type move Magnemite knee knew was Euro Ball. Gary made up his mind. Golbat. It's up to you. Gary was still the same Gary, kissing the Pokeball before stylishly tossing it into the air. A flash of white light revealed a large, blue bat flapping its wings and hovering in the air, with a mouth even bigger than its body. Golbat, the evolved form of Zubat. Beep. Golbat, poison/flying type, bat Pokemon. Ability, Infiltrator. Moves, Screech, Leech Life, Supersonic, Poison Fang, Quick Guard, Swift, Wing Attack, Inherited. Description: once it bites, it won't let go. It keeps sucking blood so fervently that it sometimes becomes too heavy to fly. Using Golbat against Gloom, this challenger knows what they're doing, Abby observed, looking at Golbat's data. The choice was solid, but she wondered how Dylan would counter it. Abby curiously glanced at Dylan. Although she had heard from her receptionist that Dylan was a strong trainer, she hadn't seen him battle yet. Still relying on type advantage, huh? Dylan examined the Golbat, smiling. Flying is strong against grass, and poison can't be poisoned, so there was no need to worry about Gloom's poison. Dylan. Today I'm going to win, Gary declared confidently. Gary knew Dylan had a corrosion ability Salazzle, which could poison even steel and poison types, but it didn't matter. Gloom didn't have the corrosion ability, and Gary had prepared a secret weapon against Salazzle. He had done his homework and was ready for this challenge. Those are words best said after winning. Gary. Dylan remained calm. TCH, just watch. Gary clicked his tongue. Golbat. Wing Attack. Gary was the first to command Golbat to attack. Golbat flapped its wings and lunged toward the stationary Gloom with impressive speed. Sweet Scent, Dylan ordered, still smiling faintly. Gloom began to backpedal, shaking its flower-topped head. A pink aroma started to spread, accompanied by a yellow, distinctly less pleasant odor. Golbat's wide wings glowed with a white light as it rapidly approached Gloom. The pink and yellow gases enveloped Golbat. Sweet Scent, a normal-type move, released a pleasant aroma that could lower the opponent's evasiveness, making them more vulnerable to attacks. Golbat inhaled the sweet scent, its body visibly relaxing as it showed a content, almost human-like expression. But then the yellow odor hit. As everyone knows, if you smell something sweet and then something foul. Golbat's expression changed instantly, its body tensing up as its eyes began to roll back, its wings flapping at an unnerving speed. Golbat was rolling its eyes? It was really rolling its eyes. Gary stared in shock as Golbat, appearing as if it had gone mad, flapped its wings desperately as though trying to ward off some evil spirit. Was it Gloom's stench? No, Gloom's stench shouldn't be this intense. It was the stench ability. The stench ability's foul odor was far more potent than Gloom's natural smell. Gary's face twisted in disgust. This battle had started off poorly. Golbat. Hang in there. Use Wing Attack. Golbat, barely managing to keep its breakfast down, heard its trainer's command and pushed through the nausea, wings speeding up as it charged at Gloom. Teeter dance, Dylan commanded calmly. Gloom began to dance, its stubby feet shuffling as it wiggled its tiny arms. The dance was so absurd that Gary's face alternated between green and white. Teeter dance, a normal-type move, causes all Pokémon around the user to become confused. Golbat. Don't look at it! Gary quickly shouted. It's too late. Dylan shook his head. A mysterious wave of energy emanated from Bloom, and as Golbat neared, its eyes reflected Gloom's bizarre dance. Golbat's movements slowed, its head beginning to bob along with Gloom's rhythm. In no time, Golbat was standing still, its body swaying uncontrollably. It was confused. Gary's face turned green. How was he supposed to battle now? Stun Spore, Dylan said with a small smile. Bloom stopped dancing and shook its flower again, releasing a cloud of powder that drifted toward the still confused Golbat. Stun Spore induces paralysis, leaving the target unable to move. In the games, status conditions don't stack. If you're poisoned, you can't be paralyzed, burned, frozen, or asleep. But confusion doesn't count as a status condition, so Stun Spore was still effective. The powder coated Golbat, some even entering its large mouth, and soon its body stiffened, small arcs of electricity sparking across its surface. Paralysis had taken hold. You? Gary's eyes widened in anger. Already confused, and now paralyzed too? How could he be so infuriating? Couldn't he just fight him head-on? Did this gym only know how to use status conditions? Gary had prepared so carefully to counter poison and toxic spikes, only to be met with confusion and paralysis? Can't be helped, Gary. Your Golbat can't be poisoned. Dylan spread his hands as if he had no other choice. Or you could switch to a Pokemon that can be poisoned? Bloom is much better at using poison powder, you know. Bloom nodded enthusiastically, confirming it was indeed better at poisoning. Gary was full of question marks. No more jokes, Gary. If this is the result of your 2 weeks of training, I'm disappointed, Dylan sighed. If your opponent is Gloom, you should be more cautious. Even if poison doesn't work, Bloom still has sleep powder and Stun Spore. No matter what, you should have been prepared. So it's my fault? Chapter 56, Are you out of your mind? The gym leader is in the lead again. The receptionist was delighted. She didn't have a good impression of that spiky-haired guy. He always acted arrogantly, as if he were the second most important person in the world. And now, with Dylan's gloom gaining the upper hand, that spiky-haired guy's face turned blue, haha. Even his cheerleaders were silent. The gym leader is really good at using status conditions. Abby blinked her bright eyes. Despite the type disadvantage, Bloom was suppressing Golbat. After all, Golbat was both confused and paralyzed. The challenger would have to switch Pokemon, otherwise, how could Golbat fight? On the battlefield. Come back, Golbat. Gary gritted his teeth and withdrew Golbat. A bad start. Though he didn't want to do this, Gary knew that continuing the fight with Golbat was pointless. Today, he was determined to prove himself as an indomitable Gary. Switching Pokemon? A wise choice, Gary. You've grown. Acting impulsively in battle is the worst thing you can do. Dylan nodded approvingly. He still remembered when Gary's Wartortle was poisoned, and Gary stubbornly refused to switch it out. Gary's face darkened upon hearing this. He knew Dylan was indirectly saying he was too irrational in his first challenge. Don't get too cocky, Dylan. Gary still refused to admit defeat. As the indomitable Gary, he would never back down. Show me the second Pokemon you've specially prepared. Dylan chuckled, motioning for Gary to send out his second Pokemon. Gary hesitated. He had indeed prepared carefully for Dylan's Pokemon, focusing on countering poison types for the first time in his life. He even sacrificed sleep for half a month. But the problem was, he had only prepared for poison types. Looking at the gloom on the other side, with an unknown liquid dripping from its mouth, Gary felt a headache coming on. This thing isn't just poison type. Darn it, if only I had learned Protect. Gary gritted his teeth. Gary? Dylan couldn't hear what Gary was muttering and just looked at him curiously. Kadabra! Gary finally sent out his trump card, not before giving it a few kisses for good luck. Dylan's eyelids twitched at this scene, wondering where Gary had picked up this habit. With a flash of white light, a yellow humanoid Pokemon with a fox-like face and a spoon in its right hand appeared before Gary. This was Kadabra, evolved from Abra. Oh, Gary, is this Kadabra's ability Magic Guard? Dylan raised an eyebrow, surprised. Gary had really put in the effort to defeat him. Gulbit was one thing, finding one in a cave was easy. But Kadabra was rare, especially since Abra's teleport made it hard to catch. Humph. Of course. Catching an Abra was a piece of cake for me. A lie. In reality, Gary had nearly lost his mind trying to catch Abra. But in the end, he succeeded, and it even had the Magic Guard ability. It was worth the effort. Naturally, this didn't stop Gary from raising his chin proudly, enjoying Dylan's surprised look. Well done, Gary. It seems you've really prepared to face poison types. Dylan nodded, pleased. That was his goal. To make these cute challengers suffer from poison, so they'd remember its hardships and learn to counter it. Seeing Dylan's expression like you've finally grown up, Gary was baffled, feeling something was off. Kadabra, Psychic type, Psy Pokemon. Ability, Magic Guard. Moves, Confusion, Kinesis, Disable, Teleport, Psybeam, Reflect, Psycho Cut, Guard Split, Inherited. Info, possesses strong psychic power. The greater the crisis, the stronger its abilities. Abby, what's this Magic Guard ability? The receptionist, curious about Dylan's mention of Magic Guard, looked at her Pokédex entry for Kadabra. Magic Guard prevents damage from anything other than direct attacks. Since the gym leader mainly uses poison. Abby explained. So Magic Guard is really specific, because while Kadabra can still be poisoned, the damage from poison is nullified by Magic Guard. Oh. You're quite knowledgeable. Celine looked at Abby in surprise. She wouldn't have known this if an elite trainer hadn't casually mentioned it during an interview. Magic Guard negates indirect damage, leading many to think it prevents poisoning entirely. But in reality, it still gets poisoned, and toxic damage accumulates. Only this damage is negated by Magic Guard. If hit by moves like Skill Swap or Worry Seed, the toxic damage would immediately take effect. I just like doing research. Abby blushed. But Dylan uses poison types? Celine noted another point, her expression curious. On the battlefield. Kadabra, Confusion. Gary was serious. Kadabra was his trump card against Dylan, and this was a 2v2 battle. Kadabra's eyes glowed blue as invisible psychic energy spread out. Gloom was enveloped in a blue aura, lifted by confusion. But as Gloom struggled, the control wavered. Stay calm, Gloom. Use sweet scent. Dylan was calm. Gloom swayed its flower, releasing pink and yellow scents towards Kadabra. Kadabra, dodge. Gary shouted. Kadabra's eyes flashed blue, teleporting away from the sweet scent, releasing Gloom from confusion. Kadabra reappeared behind Gloom. Kadabra, Psybeam. Kadabra raised its spoon, firing beams of psychic energy at Gloom. Great! Gary was excited. As long as he avoided those annoying moves, Psychic beats Poison. Moonblast. Gloom quickly turned, a shimmering moon rising behind it, beautiful moonlight falling. A pink energy ball formed before Gloom, pushed towards the Psybeam. Boom! Moonblast clashed with Psybeam, but to Gary's shock, Moonblast shattered Psybeam and hit Kadabra hard. A loud bang followed as Kadabra cried out, thrown back by Moonblast. How is this possible? Gary was stunned, staring at the comical-looking Gloom in disbelief. How could his Kadabra lose in a direct clash? Gary, perhaps you misunderstood. Dylan raised an eyebrow. Or do you have a bias against my Pokemon? Though I like using special tactics, do you think my Pokemon are weak in direct combat? Dylan smiled. My Pokemon are strong in direct battles too. Joking aside, Gary's Kadabra was only around level 20, while Gloom was level 32. Moonblast was also stronger than Psybeam, so it was no surprise. Gary's face turned pale. He felt nauseous. Are you out of your mind? If your Pokemon are strong, why use those annoying tactics and then say I'm biased? Gary felt dizzy.
Chapter 57, Rare Pokemon.
Looking at Gary, who was not only silent but also seemed a bit dazed, Dylan was curious. However, since they were still in the midst of a battle, he couldn't afford to be distracted. But actually, there wasn't much more to say about the rest of the battle.
Gary seemed to be doubting himself.
His commands continued to be flawed, leading to multiple mistakes. His Kadabra was confused by Gloom's sweet scent and was defeated by its Moonblast.
As for Golbat,
although it was recalled into its Pokeball, clearing its confusion, it remained paralyzed, affecting its speed and causing random paralysis. The combination of sweet scent and stench made Golbat roll its eyes and, unlucky enough, it triggered paralysis, causing Golbat to crash. Then another sweet scent confused it again, and a double Moonblast sent it out.
Gary's second challenge to the Rota Gym ended in another crushing defeat. The challenger Gary's two Pokemon are unable to battle. Gym leader Dylan wins. The referee announced the result.
Gary felt dizzy, and his cheerleaders looked dejected, a familiar sight. Regrettably, Gary, I still can't give you the badge, Dylan said as he approached Gary, sighing softly. I can see your growth, and I'm glad you've trained and prepared against poison and toxic spikes, but that's not enough, Dylan continued.
An excellent trainer must adapt and not rigidly stick to a formula.
You still need to reflect more. Gary had indeed put in effort, as evidenced by his Kadabra with Magic Guard. But clearly, he had focused too much on countering poison and toxic spikes, neglecting the development of his Pokemon's strength.
If Kadabra were stronger or its moves more refined, Gloom wouldn't have been so difficult to battle. Gary seemed thoughtful.
Also, maintaining a calm and steady mindset is crucial. You were clearly distracted in the latter half of the battle, which is unacceptable. This isn't just irresponsible as a challenger, but also unfair to your Pokemon, Dylan said more sternly.
I understand. Gary wanted to argue but ultimately conceded. He wanted to say, I was distracted because of you. But he realized that wasn't something a challenger should say. His mindset had been affected.
Humph.
I was careless this time. I'll definitely succeed next time.
Gary quickly adjusted his mood, lifting his chin defiantly. As always, stubborn on the outside but not on the inside, Dylan thought with a slight smile, not minding Gary's tough facade. See you next time, Gary, Dylan said, hoping Gary would continue to work hard after leaving. Gary retorted, you wait and see, before turning to leave. He had to admit that Dylan's gym was challenging, but Gary was determined to earn the Rota Gym badge. He pondered strategies while walking away. Back in the stands, Abby and the others also descended.
Impressive, Dylan.
Using a Gloom, which is at a type disadvantage, to defeat both of Gary's Pokemon is remarkable, Abby praised.
You're too kind, Dylan replied modestly. Dylan is humble, the cameraman Abu added, giving Dylan a thumbs up. We'll be leaving now, Dylan. We'll air this interview during prime time.
If you're interested, you can watch it yourself, Abby said with a polite smile.
Goodbye, Dylan nodded, personally seeing Abby and Abu off.
The gym leader will be on TV, the receptionist exclaimed with wide eyes.
There's nothing special about that.
It will bring more fame to the gym, Dylan said, smiling. Yes, and more challengers, the receptionist's eyes sparkled.
Celine, what did you learn from the battle? Dylan asked, turning to his apprentice.
He had high hopes for her. That type advantages aren't absolute, Celine replied, chewing her fingernail thoughtfully.
Correct.
While type advantages can't be ignored, the type of Pokemon is also very important, Dylan explained, satisfied with her answer. He gave an example, explaining that real battles aren't like turn-based games where advantages are absolute.
Celine nodded, understanding that flexibility and strategy are key. Good, continue training your Litten.
When you're ready, you can handle some of the new challengers for me, Dylan said, smiling.
Really? Celine was thrilled. If my apprentice can't beat them, they shouldn't challenge me, Dylan laughed. Yes.
Celine cheered, hugging her Litten and rushing off to train.
Dylan watched her go, smiling, when his phone rang. Hello, who is this? Dylan, it's Officer Jenny, a clear voice came through. This was Officer Jenny from Vermilion City. I have the League's notification regarding your reward. It's a gifted Pokemon with excellent potential. Should I send it over? She asked. Yes, please. Can you tell me what it is? Dylan asked, curious. It's better if you see for yourself. The League was very generous. This Pokemon is very rare and valuable. The League thinks highly of you, Officer Jenny said with a smile in her voice. Oh? Dylan was intrigued. Chapter 58, Let Him Raise Dragons. Time rewinds back to the morning. Indigo Plateau is the most sacred place in the Kanto region because the Pokemon League headquarters, the highest Pokemon institution, is located here. Yes, the Pokemon League headquarters. The Pokemon League is the supreme authority in this world, undeniably the world's overlord. Currently, the flags of the League cover all 8 regions except for the Alola region, which, for special reasons, has not yet established its own league. Why doesn't the Alola region have a Pokemon League? It's due to certain special reasons, not because the people of Alola don't want a league, but because the league itself doesn't want it. Professor Kukui from the Alola region has visited Kanto multiple times to apply for the establishment of an Alola League but has been repeatedly denied. Why are there 8 regions? Logically, there should be 9, but currently, Kanto and Johto are governed together. There is no Johto League at present. The Kanto League actually includes the Johto region. In the original game, both the Johto and Kanto League headquarters are located at Indigo Plateau. The reason for the different Elite Four in 2 generations is because of the years between the 2 generations, during which there were changes in the Elite Four. Red gave up his champion position to Lance, who became the champion. During these years, Koga and Agatha retired, and Will, Karen, and Bruno took their places, forming the new Kanto, Johto, Elite Four and Champion. Because Johto and Kanto are connected, they share the same league and the same Elite Four. However, the Kanto League has always felt that governing both Kanto and Johto is quite troublesome and has been preparing to separate Johto into its own region. But establishing a Johto League is not easy, especially when it comes to finding Elite Four members. President Goodshow has always been troubled by this, as the Kanto League itself is missing one member of the Elite Four, let alone splitting off Johto. Of course, that's something to consider later. The current focus is... You've heard about what happened on the SSN, right? In the Elite Four meeting room, the short, white-haired, and white-bearded President Goodshow sat on the sofa, his gaze sweeping around the room. A strong man with a bare upper body was silently doing one-arm push-ups in the corner. This is Bruno, the 3rd member of the Elite Four. A cold, glamorous woman with red hair and glasses, wearing a fitted black uniform, had a smirk of icy coldness on her lips. She is Lorelei, the 4th member of the Elite Four. An old woman with a gaunt and somewhat eerie face, dressed in a purple gown, was playing with a giant cobra. She is Agatha, the 2nd member of the Elite Four. By the floor-to-ceiling window stood a man with a black cape, blood-red hair standing up wildly, and a handsome, stern face with a dragon-like majestic aura. This is Lance, the 1st member of the Kanto Elite Four and the current Kanto champion. Team Rocket, President, I've said it before, trash like Team Rocket should be completely cleaned up. Lorelei adjusted her glasses, her calm and indifferent voice as cold as ice. She detests Team Rocket, and this hatred comes from the very core of her being. Team Rocket has indeed gone too far this time. Agatha's deep, hoarse voice matched her eerie appearance. The SSN is a world-renowned cruise ship, and Team Rocket dared to blatantly hijack and coerce all the passengers on board. This is simply disregarding our Kanto League. Lorelei's cold voice seemed to lower the temperature of the entire Elite Four meeting room. Bruno, silently doing push-ups in the corner, remained like an invisible man, still silent. President, order a search of Team Rocket's bases. Every single one, I'll turn them all into ice sculptures. Lorelei's tone remained calm and logical, her beautiful face serene, but her words were not. Lorelei, in the last operation against Team Rocket, you froze 14 members, 8 of whom were left with severe aftereffects. President Goodshow looked at Lorelei, frowning as he reminded her. The Pokemon League is a humanitarian organization, established to ensure harmony between humans and Pokemon.
Thus, people around the world deeply trust the Pokemon League, both trainers and ordinary people, and it has been this way for a century.
President Goodshow is a kind-hearted man.
The League doesn't impose the death penalty, even on Team Rocket members, who, if willing to reform, can have a second chance. The counselors have warned you, Lorelei, you can't keep doing this, President Goodshow sighed. Lorelei's fair, delicate face turned sullen and ugly at his words. The atmosphere grew tense. Agatha continued playing with her Arbok. Bruno stopped his push-ups and looked at Lorelei.
Lance remained silent, gazing out the window.
Ha!
After a long while, Lorelei let out a cold laugh but said nothing, the sarcasm in her laugh evident.
Those useless counselors, they've long forgotten why they joined the League.
Was it because she injured a few Team Rocket members that they warned her?
Of course not, it's because the cold-hearted Lorelei never fawns over those counselors, which is why they target her. Or rather, it's not just her, but the entire Kanto Elite Four. The Kanto Elite Four stands out from the Kanto League's high-ranking officials. Lorelei understands this well, which is why she despises those useless people even more.
Lorelei, some in Team Rocket are heinous criminals, but not all. They should have the chance to reform. President.
Lorelei looked up, directly at the elderly man she once deeply respected, without backing down.
Team Rocket is Team Rocket. A rocket today is still a rocket tomorrow. She once saw a little seal almost die in polluted water, a result of environmental destruction.
The sad look in the dying seal's eyes is something she'll never forget. She joined the Pokemon League for the Pokemon, and she saw even greater evil after joining. Those Pokemon suffering on lab tables, their pitiful forms, were like cold daggers stabbing her heart. And more evidence showed that anyone in Team Rocket is trash that needs to be dealt with. The Ice-type Elite Four member's cold voice made President Goodshow purse his lips, his eyes trembling slightly.
When did it start? President Goodshow didn't know either.
The Kanto Elite Four is considered the world's strongest Elite Four, everyone thinks so.
Dragon Master Lance, Ghost-type Agatha, Fighting-type Bruno, and Ice-type Lorelei. These four form the strongest Kanto Elite Four, standing at the top of Kanto. No one has been able to defeat them so far. Why hasn't the Kanto Elite Four been completed? Because since these four formed the Kanto Elite Four, no one has earned their recognition to join them. But outsiders don't know, the Kanto Elite Four has subtly changed over time. The Elite Four meeting room fell silent again. The assassin incident was led by Archer, and Archer was defeated by two children. President Goodshow rubbed his temples, his tired voice sounding.
One of them is a new trainer who started this year, and the other is a recently graduated new gym leader.
As promising newcomers, the League should reward them.
Agatha spoke with a kind smile, though her face still appeared quite eerie even when smiling. Yes, and that new gym leader is just like you, Lance.
President Goodshow nodded.
Also born with the power of Viridian. The Pokemon world is inherently semi-supernatural, not just because of the Pokemon themselves, but also because of the humans. In this world, strange abilities aren't very common but not exceedingly rare either, especially psychic powers, which can even be trained.
But the blessing of Viridian is one of the rarest abilities.
Lance turned his head slightly, his dragon-like sharp eyes flickering.
Blessed by the Viridian, just like him?
A smile slowly appeared on Lance's lips. A junior like him, he wondered how capable this junior was. Perhaps it won't be long before the Kanto Elite Four is complete, President Goodshow smiled. As the president of the league, he naturally welcomed the rise of promising newcomers, especially now, with the increasing tension between the Kanto Elite Four and the league's higher-ups. As a reward for the assassin incident, that child requested a highly talented Pokemon. But according to the information, he seems to specialize in poison types.
President Goodshow's white eyebrows furrowed slightly.
Specializing in poison types, that is indeed rare.
Whoosh! A pokeball flew towards President Goodshow.
He caught the pokeball, looking at Lance in confusion. Lance's expression remained cold and indifferent as he turned back to the window, speaking only one calm sentence. Let him raise dragons.
A junior with the blessing of Viridian Forest, playing with poison? Chapter 59, Dratini. Rhoda Gym.
I wonder what kind of Pokemon the League will give.
Dylan retrieved a Pokeball from the transfer machine, sent over by Officer Jenny from Vermilion City. Dylan was quite curious.
Gym leader, quickly let it out so we can see. The receptionist and Celine were also very curious, urging him. This was the reward for the gym leader defeating a high-ranking member of Team Rocket and saving the SSN.
The League surely wouldn't give something inferior, right? Come out. Dylan opened the Pokeball. Me.
A flash of white light and a soft, melodious hum sounded. A Pokemon, resembling a water serpent, landed on the ground, looking at Dylan with its gem-like, purple-black eyes filled with curiosity.
Seeing this Pokemon, Dylan raised an eyebrow.
The receptionist and Celine also widened their eyes, and the receptionist even covered her mouth in surprise.
This is Dratini. The receptionist exclaimed, and Celine also called out the name of this blue serpent-like Pokemon in amazement.
Its back was covered in light blue scales, its belly bright white. Its purple eyes were bright and clear, revealing a naive purity. It had a white bump on its forehead, white fins on both sides of its head, and a big round nose, looking extremely cute and soft. It was a Dratini from the Kanto region. The pre-evolution of Dragonite, a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. The League is really generous? Dylan squatted down to look at the adorable Dratini, still a bit surprised. He thought the Kanto League wouldn't be stingy, but he didn't expect them to be this generous. This was a Dratini, which eventually evolves into Dragonite. The rarity of Dragonite was undisputed. Excluding the legendary Pokemon, Dratini and Larvitar were the rarest and most precious in Kanto. Larvitar's exact habitat was only Mount Silver, which was very dangerous with high-level wild Pokemon. Regular trainers could hardly find Larvitar and might even lose their lives there. Dratini's exact habitat was only the Dragon's Den in Blackthorn City, controlled by the powerful Dragon Clan. It was their sacred place. Apart from these two places, encountering wild Larvitar or Dratini was extremely rare. Me. Dratini's bright, clean eyes looked at Dylan curiously, its cute demeanor making the receptionist and Celine's eyes almost turn into hearts. Little one, I'll be your trainer from now on. I'll take good care of you. No matter why the League was so generous, a free Dratini was not to be refused. Me. Dylan gently scratched Dratini's chin, and the green light of the Viridian Force flickered slightly. The natural aura made Dratini very comfortable, closing its eyes and humming happily, getting quite close to Dylan. Indeed, the Viridian Force was very useful. Such a cute child. Dylan carefully picked up Dratini. Dratini, understanding, wrapped its slender body around Dylan's arm, nuzzling his cheek affectionately. It seemed to have a clingy personality. So cute. Gym leader, can I pet it? The receptionist pleaded, her eyes fixed on Dratini. It was one of the most precious Pokemon in Kanto. You have to ask the little one. Dylan replied with a smile. Little cutie, can I pet you? You're so beautiful. Me? Dratini tilted its head in confusion. Don't act so cute. I can't handle it. The receptionist covered her nose, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Here, I have some snacks. She took out a box of Poke Blocks and held it out to Dratini. Dratini sniffed the air, seemed to catch a good scent, and poked its head towards the Poke Blocks. Chomp. Dratini bit into a Poke Block, and the receptionist gently petted its head. Such fine, smooth scales. They're so cool. She exclaimed. Deep Dratini, Dragon-type, Dragon Pokemon. Ability, Shed Skin. Moves, Dragon Tail, Thunder Wave, Twister, Leer, Wrap, Extreme Speed, Inherited, ... It inherited extreme speed. Just like the ones in the Dragon's Den. Dylan looked at Dratini's information on the Pokédex. In the second-generation games, passing the Dragon's Den Elders test would earn you a Dratini with extreme speed. Considering Kanto League's Dratini, it was likely from the Dragon's Denver. After all, Lance was from the Dragon Clan, born in Viridian Forest but still connected by blood, and he wouldn't lack Dragonite. As the Kanto champion, Lance had full access to the Dragon Clan's resources. Now, I have 2 Dragon-type Pokemon, both pseudo-legendaries. Dylan played with the cute Dratini, feeling quite pleased. Maybe I could form a team of Dragon-type pseudo-legendaries to defeat Lance. Show him what true Dragon Mastery is. Or maybe in Fairy or Ice Team. Either way, to defeat Lance. The afternoon passed quickly, with 2 more challengers, both of average strength. Dylan easily won with his Gloom. No standout challengers, leaving Dylan somewhat disappointed. He could understand why many gym leaders slacked off. Too many challengers were just average. This world had no shortage of geniuses, but also no shortage of mediocrities. Still, Dylan handled the challengers seriously. Watching their panic when their Pokemon were poisoned was quite amusing. It was a way to find fun in the mundane battles. But he still longed for a rival like Red. That kind of battle was what he looked forward to. In the evening, Eileen's video call came through. "Dylan, I've uploaded your battle with Red." Eileen's bright smile appeared on the screen, excitedly reporting. She spent all day editing the video, taking a lot of time since it was her first time. She wanted to do it herself, as it was Dylan's first battle video uploaded online. "Thank you. I'll treat you to a big meal tomorrow." "Alright, I'll hold you to that." Eileen's smile grew sweeter. "By the way, you should check it out. It's been up for over an hour and the response is great." She urged him, having waited an hour before notifying Dylan. The video was performing better than expected. Sure. Dylan ended the call and immediately checked the league's official website. In this world, the Pokemon League was the biggest draw, and battle videos were posted on the Kanto League's official site. He found the "I Am the Queen" uploader and saw the pinned video. A battle between strong peers. The title was a bit plain. Dylan paused, then clicked in. The video started without unnecessary introductions, directly showing referee Leah announcing the rules. Interestingly, Leah's face was pixelated. Eileen probably contacted Leah about it. The battle commenced, and Dylan watched intently, treating it as a review. More interesting than watching anime battles. Dylan concluded. Not bad, if he said so himself. He scrolled to the comments, curious about the audience's reactions. The video had over 50,000 views and more than 10,000 comments, indicating good reception. Wow, learned something new. Poison-type Pokemon can be used like this. Feel sorry for the opponent. Those toxic spikes gave me chills. Poor Pikachu. Isn't this the deviant? Can't handle such an opponent. So the trainer using Poison-type is a gym leader? Never heard of him. Watching live, the battle was fantastic. The trainer in the hat was strong too, but the one using Poison-type was stronger. As expected of gym leader Dylan. I will definitely use Poison-type Pokemon well. Dylan read the comments with interest. He had a feeling the Rota gym was going to gain popularity, and a notification popped up from the gym leaders group chat, mentioning Dylan. It was from Daisy of the Cerulean Gym. It seemed gym leaders watched videos too, especially the younger ones. At this moment, at the entrance of Rota, 2 figures, one tall and one short, entered Rota. Rota Gym? A young man with purple mid-length hair looked at the sign, his eyes dazed. Due to certain reasons, he was filled with self-doubt, unsure if he should continue as a trainer. Beside him, a silent boy quietly watched his brother. Let's go, Paul. The young man called to his brother, Paul, and walked into Rota, with Paul following silently. The young man was still confused and hesitant, but maybe he could challenge a gym one more time. But it would have to wait until tomorrow, as it was already evening. Chapter 60. This gym isn't suitable for psychological counseling. Gym group chat. Cerulean Gym Daisy, wow. At Rota Gym Dylan, gym leader Dylan, you're incredible. Are you really a newbie who just graduated from Pokemon school? Shocked_dog.gif.
Cerulean Jim Lily, so strong. And you even faced that red, he absolutely destroyed us back then. I can't believe you beat him. Rhoda Jim, just lucky, just lucky. Humble.gif. Viridian Jim Giovanni, no need to be modest, Gym Leader Dylan. Your toxic spike strategy was truly an eye-opener. Pewter Jim Brock, what are you all talking about? Confused.gif. Cerulean Jim Daisy, it's a battle video. I'll send the link to the group. Gym Leader Dylan is seriously amazing. Fuchsia Jim Ikoga, impressive use of poison-type moves. We should spar sometime. I consider myself quite knowledgeable in poison types as well, at Rhoda Jim Dylan. Rhoda Jim Dylan, you're too kind, Master Koga. I'll definitely visit Fuchsia City when I get the chance. Innocent.gif. Dylan couldn't believe it, Koga, a middle-aged man, watching videos? Maybe his daughter sent it to him. After all, Koga's whole family specializes in poison types. Though it would be interesting to spar with Koga, even if there's a high chance that Koga is secretly a high-ranking member of Team Rocket. But Koga is a decent person, his loyalty lies solely with Giovanni, not Team Rocket itself. The night passed quietly, and soon it was the next day. Dear son, I've seen the progress you've made with the gym, and the incident on the SSN. As expected, my son is amazing. I knew long ago that my son Dylan had the potential to be a champion. Haha, your dad won't reach champion level in this lifetime, but you must keep striving. Oh, and a few days ago, your mom and I found a girl who seemed to have been kicked out by her family. She looked quite pitiful, so we temporarily took her in. In short, son, you now have an adopted daughter. Maybe you could video call her, or come visit her in Alola. Let me tell you, she's as pretty as a doll. Also, the Pokemon you requested are being prepared. Son, not to nag, but you already have quite a few Pokemon, right? Raising them takes energy, so don't overwork yourself. As I always say, if running the gym gets too tiring, just quit. We've got enough money to support you for 10 lifetimes. Oh, and the stuff you mentioned, I've got people working on it. I heard they've already started on the first Rotom decks. As expected of my son, you've got great vision. Waking up early, Dylan saw a stream of messages from his dad. Seeing the pride in every word, Dylan couldn't help but smile. This is the love of family. A warm feeling spread through Dylan's heart. If his dad was saying this, maybe it was time to get a championship in Paldea and make him proud. The World Championships would be held again eventually, winning the top spot there would be just as good, right? Dylan pondered. And if he didn't win? Ever heard of cheating? But what's with this adopted daughter? Dylan was puzzled but didn't dwell on it. An extra daughter, and in Alola no less, he didn't have time to travel to other regions right now. Maybe he could video call her to see what she looked like. But for now, it was time to check out the Pokemon his dad sent. Thanks to the growth simulation system, Dylan's Pokemon grew at a rate unimaginable to others. For instance, the Litten and Dratini he got just yesterday had already evolved into Torracat, though Dratini hadn't evolved yet. In the growth simulation world, likely due to the game mechanics, Pokemon evolved at the exact levels they did in the game. But in reality, evolution wasn't as strictly tied to levels. Sometimes, a Pokemon's emotions or external factors could trigger evolution. Like May's Magikarp and Ash's Charmander. The road to becoming a champion is quite long. Dylan muttered as he got up to wash up. In the growth simulation, the champion's path was indeed challenging, with many twists and turns. It would likely take longer than Dylan had anticipated. But that wasn't a big deal. Dylan wasn't in a hurry. After washing up, Dylan prepared breakfast for his Pokemon as usual. Since he had quite a few now, it took a bit longer. But Dylan didn't mind, he genuinely enjoyed taking care of his Pokemon. After preparing breakfast for the Meowscarada and the others, Dylan headed to the equipment room to check out the new Pokemon his dad sent overnight. Come on out. Dylan enlarged the 2 Pokeballs, and 2 beams of white light flashed. On the left was a small, dark purple Pokemon with sapphire-like eyes, with a red gem on its chest and back. It was Sableye,
a ghost/dark type. On the right was a purple-pink scorpion-like Pokemon with blue wings on the inside. Its two sharp fangs were visible, and its tail ended in a menacing stinger. This was Gligar, a ground/flying type.
Gligar, Sableye, hello. Dylan smiled as he bent down to greet the two Pokemon.
Gligar seemed outgoing, looking around curiously, while Sableye kept its gaze fixed on the ground, appearing more introverted.
Hearing Dylan's voice, both Pokemon looked up at him. From today on, I'll be your trainer. I look forward to working with you. Dylan's smile was warm, and his verdant aura gently flowed out.
Gligar tilted its head curiously at Dylan, while Sableye's gem-like eyes flickered slightly before it lowered its gaze again.
Deep Gligar, ground/flying type, the Fly Scorpion Pokemon. Ability, Immunity. Moves, Slash, Quick Attack, Knock Off, Harden, Sand Attack, Poison Sting, Feint Attack, Egg Move. Info, it quietly glides through the sky as if sliding. It grabs its prey's face with its large claws and stabs them with its poisonous stinger.
Deep Sableye, dark/ghost type, the darkness Pokemon.
Ability, Prankster. Moves.
Leer, Mean Look, Fake Out, Shadow Sneak, Astonish, Scratch, Confuse Ray, Egg Move.
Info, it lives quietly in caves.
People fear it, believing it steals souls when its eyes shine ominously in the dark. Both have hidden abilities. Dylan was pleased. Gligar's immunity would become Poison Heal when it evolved into Glisker, allowing it to heal from poisoning.
Sableye's Prankster would let it use status moves first, both very useful Pokemon. Dad always delivered. Let me introduce you to the others, they're all very friendly. Dylan led the two new Pokemon to the backyard.
If I'm building a Dark-type team, I'll need to add some strong members.
As for a Ghost-type team, Dylan sat in the backyard, watching his Pokemon either playing or training, lost in thought.
Since he decided to be a trainer, it made sense to specialize in various types.
He planned to build multiple teams based on different types.
Once the teams were ready, he could set up a roulette in the gym.
Challengers would spin the wheel to determine which type they'd face.
It would be unique and exciting, a perfect gym feature. But for now, he was just starting out. His Poison-type team was sufficient for now, and he could gradually add to it.
Dylan was leaning towards specializing in Dark or Ghost types.
Those two types were particularly interesting.
Gym Leader.
Dylan looked up at the call and saw his receptionist waving at him.
Gym Leader, we have challengers. All right. Dylan nodded and headed to the gym. Arriving at the gym, Dylan immediately noticed the two brothers standing there.
They looked familiar.
Dylan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Hello, I'm Dylan, the gym leader here.
Dylan approached them with a smile and introduced himself.
Hello,
I'm Reggie from Veilstone City in the Sinnoh region.
This is my younger brother, Paul.
Reggie forced a smile as he introduced himself and his brother. Paul silently stared at Dylan without speaking, a rather sullen kid.
So, which of you is here to challenge the gym? Dylan glanced at Paul.
So, this was Ash's rival in the Sinnoh arc, a rival considered one of the best developed characters across all regions. Gary may have been a classic rival, but he was more of a childhood friend and neighbor, while Paul was a true rival who challenged Ash's training philosophy. Paul's character development was perfect, his harsh treatment of Pokemon and extreme views made him seem almost like a villain, yet he gradually changed, ultimately recognizing Ash's approach after their final battle. Even in the Journey's arc, Paul returned to train with Ash, using a Gyarados, Metagross, and Garchomp in a sparring session.
It was touching. I'm the one challenging.
Reggie hesitated before speaking up. Dylan observed Reggie closely, easily noticing that something was off with him. It wasn't physical, but mental. Had Reggie just been defeated by Brandon? His confidence must be at rock bottom. In the original series, during the time when Ash went to Sinnoh, Reggie was a very gentle and sunny big brother. But in reality, Reggie used to be someone who was also very extreme in his pursuit of strength and victory. Yes, he once personally told Ash and the others that he used to be exactly like Paul.
No problem, shall we start now?
Sure. Reggie let out a long sigh, his expression turning indifferent. The devastating loss to Brandon had deeply impacted him, and Brandon's words had made him question his own beliefs as a trainer.
But, should he really give up being a trainer? Reggie still couldn't make up his mind.
Perhaps he needed one more battle to solidify his resolve. How should I put it? My gym is a bit unique, so I hope you can stay strong, Mr. Reggie.
Dylan pondered for a moment and decided it would be best to give Reggie a heads up.
He had a pretty good idea of why Reggie would come to challenge the gym at this time, but to be blunt, Dylan's gym wasn't really the place for psychological counseling. Hopefully, Reggie wouldn't become more withdrawn after the battle. Even though Reggie, who was already standing on the battlefield, was feeling a bit confused, he couldn't help but raise 2 question marks after hearing Dylan's words.
What did this gym leader mean by that?
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.